Hello, welcome back to Slaying the Craft, the show where we go inside the mind of a thriller writer. I am your host, Sabrina Thatcher. I am a book coach, a podcaster, and an author myself, but most of all, a fanatic of the genre. I am so excited to introduce my guest to you today. Dwayne Goetzel is an intellectual property lawyer and a frequent lecturer from Austin. He files copyrights, trademarks, and domain names on behalf of nationwide clients. And also handles contracts, licensing, personality rights, and federal court trial work all over the country. Dwayne has also written several books that are out on submission with his agent. He's known to speak at places like Thriller Fest, Dragon Con, and other events like that. If you want to know more about intellectual property law, check out his Instagram at Dwayne Goetzel. You'll see it. It's in the show notes. He has a very cute little podcast with his dog, Frank, and a variety of authors, and they talk about fun stuff like this. So welcome, Dwayne.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yay! So excited to have you here. Okay, so on one hand, usually on these, I have the author comes on and they pitch their book or whatever, but you're like professional. So I have professional questions. I'm what's going on? Okay, so I'll get into it. So tell me, what is intellectual property? Why do I even care about it?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, intellectual property is probably one of the most important things that an author or the creative has because it protects your rights in what it is that you create. The best analogy that I can give you, because a lot of people always ask me, what's the difference between a copyright and a trademark?
Right.
An easy analogy, it's not a perfect one, but an easy analogy is just think of a book. The title of the book is a trademark. The content of the book can be copyrighted. Again, that's not a perfect analogy, but it gives you a general idea of what it is. A patent, on the other hand, which isn't really as important unless you're just creating an invention or something, is an idea of something,
Okay.
Method for a better mousetrap or something like that. For most authors, musicians, actors, that kind of thing, you're talking about copyrights primarily and trademarks secondarily.
Okay. So something that I've heard a lot about is that, well, in my business and working with other writers who are coming up through the channels right now, there's a lot of hesitation about sending out their work to somebody because they're afraid of it being stolen. Like we've all heard those horror stories, right? Yeah. But can you talk a little bit about if people are nervous to send out their books, what does that really mean as far as trademarks, stealing, all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah. It's a legitimate fear. I mean, when you are sending something to an agent, I wouldn't have that concern. An agent isn't going to take it and go, I'm going to publish the thing now, right? But there's so many platforms that people, they'll post their work on an online platform hoping to generate some interest and then get an agent from that. That can be risky because it's out there in the public and so forth. So with respect to copyrights, I personally think that it's a good idea that when you have a book, a novel, anthology, whatever, completed, if you register it with the Copyright Office, the filing fee is minimal. It's like $50 to register a copyright once it is in final form. Once you have a registration, then if someone infringes, if someone takes it off the online platform or what have you, then you can get statutory damages and attorney's fees. The problem is if you do not register, and let me take a step back. You have a general copyright interest in your work regardless of whether you register it. However, you can't do anything with it until you seek registration for it. So in that instance, excuse me, let's say you've got the work completed. You've got a novel, you post it online, someone takes it, copies it, puts it on their own website. You would, in order to enforce your rights, you would have to first seek registration of it. Then you could try to enforce. But the problem is your registration wouldn't be considered timely under the Copyright Act, which means you can't recover statutory damages and you can't recover attorney's fees. And I know from personal experience that I am expensive. So you want that ability to recover attorney's fees if you can get them. And statutory damages is also important because otherwise proving actual damages, how you can argue, I would have sold X number of copies of my novel but for your infringement, but how do you know, right?
Yeah.
So having the ability to get statutory damages is kind of key.
So Okay, I have like a bunch of questions that are popping up because obviously like, this is a huge thing that's going on in the industry right now with the LibGen lawsuit, all the other AI lawsuits, and then just in general. So when you're saying registration, are you saying like that when I finish this, before I start querying an agent, I should register it? Or like if I'm self-publishing and I'm putting it out onto the internet and I'm just like, I am in charge of all of that, then I
Mhm.
should do that. What's the
Yeah,
scenario?
it's less of a worry if you're just querying traditionally to an agent, okay? Because the
Okay.
agent they have his or her reputation to abide by, and if they were to copy something and send it
Yeah.
to another author or whatever, they'd be ruined. So it's really more of an issue either for self-publishing, or even if a lot of people, they might be querying an agent, but they still want to put it on some platform, to get comments back or to try to get the interest of an agent through that platform. Those are the instances in which you really ought to think about registering it, because then if something bad happens, then you have the ability to do something about it.
Hmm. So it doesn't have to be in completed form. So like if I'm in my like third draft, right? But I know, oh, so I guess if I'm self-publishing, I should be in its completed form. Really,
Mm-hmm.
that should ideally be the state.
Right.
Okay. So, and then if you are traditionally published and there's like all of these AI like lawsuit kind of things, what are you guys hearing in the industry? What is kind of coming up about that people need to be aware of?
Yeah, I mean it's an incredibly dangerous thing, and as of right now, there's only been one reported decision on generative AI, and even that it wasn't really the creative generative AI. It involved a legal search firm, and someone was basically taking information from the legal search firm and copying their headings and that kind of thing and using it as part of their own engine. And that went against the subsequent user. With respect to all of the cases that are out there, I mean, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of authors whose works have been, fed into the AI engine supposedly for, training
Hmm.
of the AI engine, and the companies that are doing that are saying, "Hey, we're not creating content; we're just using it for training purposes." Which I personally have my doubts. I mean, why are they doing that? Because they
Yeah.
want to generate content, cut out the
Hmm.
creatives, and make money without having to pay
Having
royalties
used
or anything.
everybody else's work already, so then why would they need to?
Right.
Like they could just have AI generate it instead of
Yeah,
new, fresh
exactly.
ideas.
Exactly. And you see this a lot with music, where it
Mm.
just kind of create this computer synthesized music
Oh yeah.
that apes what it is that you like listening to, and you could just have that on an endless loop. Well, once you start doing that with books, I mean, hey, as writers, we're done
Yeah.
if that's allowed.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. None of those cases have come to decision. I hope the courts will get it right, because when you have a copyright, the copyright law gives you certain exclusive rights, such as the right to reproduce the work, prepare derivatives to the work, publicly perform it, and publicly display it. Well, to me, if you are using someone's work to feed into an AI engine, I think you're kind of running afoul of some of those exclusive rights.
Hmm.
But what do I know? To use the old Phil Hartman thing on Saturday Night Live, I'm just a unfrozen caveman lawyer. What do I know?
I'm sure you know a lot. Um, okay, so one more question kind of
Mhm.
into that idea. It's not so I hear people being worried about sharing book ideas. Like, oh, I have an idea that like one of the ones I'm writing is serial killer kidnaps another serial killer. I'm afraid to say that in front of people because I'm afraid they're going to
Mhm.
steal the idea.
Yeah,
But so is that something that as a writer you even need to be like thinking about or what?
you do. Yes, because I'm seeing an increased number of what I call copyright trolls. That
Oh.
term is usually used a lot in the patent context, where someone will get a patent, they'll basically sit and wait, and then when someone comes along and invents something similar, they'll pop out and say, "Hey, I have this prior patent. Pay me, because your invention is now too close to mine." In the copyright context, I'm seeing a lot of this where people are suing, claiming that exactly what you're talking about. The idea is in essence the same. Under copyright law, ideas are not protectable. It's only
Okay.
the expression of the idea. And I'll
Okay.
give you an example. How many movies have there been made where you have, the older grizzled cop is close to retirement and
Yeah.
he ends up getting killed and partner has to avenge the death. You know, that's just a general idea. And those kind of ideas are not protectable. It's how you express it. What are the characters like? What's the dialogue? What's the mood? What's the atmosphere? All of that. So generally speaking, you shouldn't have to be afraid about talking about those ideas. But the problem is, I've seen many cases in which someone gets sued, and when you look at the two examples, you go, these aren't anything close. It's just kind of this general idea.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with our society is, and most people don't realize this, there's no gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Anyone can sue anyone at any time for any reason,
Cool.
and you then have to spend all of this time and money to sort it out. And it's just kind of a perversity of our system that, yeah, this happens every day, and you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars if it goes all the way through to a decision. Well, who can afford to do that? So
Yeah.
what happens is these cases get settled. So it becomes almost a kind of a legalized form of blackmail, where if they truly are not copied, and the copyright term is substantially similar. So if the two works are not substantially similar, you have this Pyrrhic victory, right? I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to prove that I was right. Meanwhile, I'm bankrupt. Or
Right.
you give in and say, fine, I'll pay some money to be done with this so that I'm not facing the larger economic loss
Yeah.
continuing with the lawsuit. So I'm seeing a lot of that.
So what can we do as writers right now? Like, because I feel like at some point that's kind of like publishers' problems if you're going through the trad publishing route. But if you're like in your work and you're aspiring trad publish or you're self-publish, indie publish, what can we do now to protect ourselves from those ideas or for that happening? Because if it's something that people need to be concerned about, then we want to know, right? Like
Yeah.
how to make sure we don't do that.
Yeah, it's a really difficult thing because in order to be a better writer, you have to read. You have
Yeah.
to read a wide variety of works and so forth. You just you have to be honest about it. You don't want to copy anyone else's work. You don't
Right.
want to take someone else's work and say, okay, I'm going to paraphrase this. Uh, Again, the general idea. Okay, fine. Every domestic suspense book, every thriller, every book basically has however many ideas in common. They
Right.
just do.
Yeah.
But what you don't want to do is you don't want to take it, run it through a generative AI engine to say, okay, I'm going to take Harlan Coben's novel and I'm going to feed it into this, spit it out as something that I call my own.
Yeah.
Number one, first of all, the copyright law as of right now says the output of generative AI is not copyrightable. So if you were to do that, you're left with nothing. You can't enforce it. You've got no rights basically. But aside from that, you want to kind of protect your own idea. But on the other hand, it's a good idea to keep track of what it is that you're doing. If the other book is an inspiration for you, for example, you want to make sure that it's only the high level idea, kind of like what we talked about a minute ago, rather than you don't want to copy pages, you don't want to paraphrase, you don't want to recast. But it's honestly, it's a difficult balance because we as writers are exposed to other creative works and so forth. And if someone comes along and says that it's too close, yes, independent creation is a defense, but you're still stuck in that. How do you prove that? How do you get out of that sticky situation? So I personally, I like reading a wide variety of things, but if there's something that I've heard about that is directly similar to whatever story I'm working on, I won't read that other work.
Mm-hmm. So that it
I
doesn't seep in, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
for example, I have this one time travel love story that I really like, and I heard about this other author who has one similar, not similar, but the similar idea.
Okay. Yeah. So you have those two ideas:
Yeah,
time
right.
travel,
Time
love
travel
story.
love
That's
story.
an idea. That's a trope, right?
Right.
So
Exactly.
you can't copyright your trope.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah. You
So you
have
just have to be
tropes.
okay with like, well,
Yeah, I
your
mean,
idea generally, when it boils down to, is it's all going to be the same, even if you put a unique spin on it.
Yeah, I mean, how many thrillers have been written in which you've got super spy who is adept at weapons and doesn't seem to feel pain and isn't a normal person when it comes to the emotional repercussions of their actions, right? Like
We're not
all
talking
of
about
them.
Jack Reacher, are we?
You can be talking about just about any of them.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, those are tropes, and there are things called scenes of fare where if you are writing a hard-boiled uh, noir detective story in New York, you're going to have dark alleys. You're going to have steam rising from grates.
Yeah.
You're going to have all of these things that belong in that type of story. If you are writing YA paranormal, you're going to have a dark, broody guy and a girl who doesn't think she has powers and turns out she does. And it's just a nature of that. It has to
Yeah.
include those in order to fall within the genre.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone can use those. It's how different are you?
Right. That makes sense. So, I mean, at some point, there's like only so much you can do, basically.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you could wall yourself off, not read any books, not read any TV, or not watch any TV, movies, that kind of thing.
Or like share it though. Like, so like what if I'm like pitching, like I'm pitch on Twitter, they do pitch events or whatever. Mm-hmm. So like not being nervous about doing that, because at that point, like you're already putting the idea out there, right? Like,
yeah, no, and I agree. I mean, if you pick a stupid example, you have a story about werewolves who are into skateboarding. Okay, I just threw that out there for all the world to use.
Yeah, and I guarantee there probably is already a book out there that has this. I bet it's right. A YA, it's super popular.
Yeah, werewolves on skateboard, trademark and copyright, Dwayne Goetzel. But no, I've thrown that idea out there and I'm pitching the idea. Well, someone could easily take that idea and write it totally different. Mine might be completely serious and, he's upset because this long hair is getting caught in the wheels of the skateboard. Whereas someone else might take it the total like Teen Wolf comedy kind of thing.
Yeah.
How that idea gets expressed is the thing that is protectable. So again,
okay.
You could make that pitch on Twitter, and if you're keeping it at the high level, someone can take that. It's how granular.
It's not the same. It's not the same because you have a different book. Okay.
Yeah,
I think that's really great because that is something that I hear a lot of writers being concerned about, like I said, especially as they're like reaching out to people to do critiques or finding writing partners or any of that kind of stuff. It's something that comes up. But I think it's just kind of, you just got to be comfortable with your stuff is different and just be discerning, right? Like that's what I always say for everybody when we are getting feedback as well. Be discerning about what you need to do for your own story.
Yeah, I think there are certain precautions that you can take and you got to be smart about certain things. But on the other, to a certain extent, you kind of have to trust that if you are just expressing kind of these general ideas and someone takes that general idea, you kind of have to be okay with it, realizing that. Yeah, I mean, your pitch isn't going to be 3 hours long where you are reciting, the first 10 chapters, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, you should be okay.
So, switching gears a little bit, going into writing and the craft itself. So, I am curious, tell me about what you write, because I know you write a variety, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I said just write a lot of times just now.
In different contexts, right?
In different contexts, right?
I one of the things that I was told when I first started out, and it's probably one of the best things that I've ever heard, although it hasn't really paid off yet, is just keep writing. If you've written one book, great. Don't flog it to death. Don't keep trying to pitch and sell and query that one book. After a certain period of time, put it aside, keep writing. And that's what I've done. I'm now on my third agent because my first agent, who I loved, he signed me for an international thriller. And then he retired from agenting. And it's a shame because if he had, I'm convinced I would be published by now. But these things happen. Curse them in their lives.
This is the journey though. Like this is not an unusual thing that this kind of thing happens where even early on you're switching agents before you even get a publishing deal. This is
Yeah.
not an uncommon experience.
Yeah, I at the time it was traumatic, and I
Oh, I
thought,
bet.
oh no, what'll I do?
I'd be devastated, but yeah.
Yeah, but I found out a number of people that have had similar issues, and something comes up, whatever. So, okay, first agent retires, and he suggests, why don't you, excuse me, why don't you write domestic suspense? And I said, I don't know anything about domestic suspense. He said, of course you do. You're a husband, you're a father. And like, oh yeah.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah,
oh, I know about domesticity, right?
yeah, I got all kinds of problems and paranoia on the domestic front. So yeah. So, okay, fine. I write a domestic suspense book, get signed to second agent, and she tells me, love it, all that kind of thing. And then nothing happens. And lo and behold, she never queried a single person. I was with her for an entire year. Not one query gets sent out.
Oh, gosh.
And, there were other issues going on, I think, with her and her life. And so she says, well, I think you need to find someone else. Okay, fine. So get a third agent. And here we sit, waiting to see. I think there's some things out on submission, and we haven't heard anything. Haven't heard, no thank you. Haven't heard send a partial. It's just complete.
It is hard.
Silence.
You're currently in the spot. So a lot of I kind of gear this podcast towards like the early folks, of getting an agent. But the reality is once you get the agent, the rejection continues because like you just said, like you've had how many books out on submission, and being on submission, my understanding is it's like even more of a mind fuck about it because you're already like, well, I was good enough for this. I'm so close. I'm so close. Yeah. How do you handle that?
A lot of sports to vent out my frustration. Play a lot of basketball. No, it's incredibly frustrating. And when I was younger and more naive about it, okay, I got signed with the first agent, and I thought, you're going to be published within the next 3 months.
Woo!
And no, that is not the way it happened. And so, yeah, it's a learning process and extremely frustrating because I really did think, okay, you got an agent, cool, all the hard work is done. And then the more you learn, the more you realize
how much you don't know.
Yeah, there's so much. The publishing industry, I used to think law practice was a brutal industry. It's a cakewalk in comparison to publishing.
Oh my gosh, that is not a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, that's just my experience. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. But yeah, I really thought with first agent that I was going to be published any day, and that was that. And okay, fine. He suggested I switch gears because at the time international thrillers weren't selling. Okay, fine, do domestic suspense. And second agent comes along and loved the work, and so I thought, okay, cool, I'll be published any day now with second agent. And she just didn't query anyone, which I kind of understand as a necessary thing in order for publishers to see the work.
I hear that they're supposed to do that.
Yeah, apparently publishers have to see the work in order to decide to publish it. I mean, go figure. Who knew? So, yeah, it is definitely a weird journey.
But so you've written all kinds of different books. You've written some international thrillers, some domestic suspense. I think you've done some science fiction thriller-esque kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So like, what drew you to write more of the dark and twisted versus like something like literary or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Unless you do write literary.
Nah, I don't speak that goodly.
That's what I'm like. I can't read literary novels. I'm like, it's too smart for me.
No, I mean, I like a well-turned phrase. I like things that I don't think you necessarily have to cater to the second grade readers.
Yeah.
If you're doing children's books, of course, but there seems to be, I don't know, a tendency to dumb things down. And I personally think that's a mistake. I personally think you write the way you want to write, and maybe it finds an audience, maybe it doesn't, who knows. But I think it's a mistake to try to pretend you're something that you're not or cater to something. I think your voice is going to come through the more authentic it is. And so for me, it tends to be a wordier kind of voice.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think the thing that led me to do all the different genres was that initial experience of, oh, this particular thing isn't selling right now. And if you're supposed to keep writing, I'm interested in a lot of different things. So I thought, well, let's just write a bunch of things in different genres so that if a
Yeah.
publisher were to say, one, okay, I like this, what else do you have? I could go, here. Um,
Yeah. No,
and
I think that that makes a lot of sense. And I had a guest last week that also, I think she wrote t two books before she got her agent, and then it was like her 10th book that finally sold. And then they had been out on submission for a
yeah,
really long time. So it's just like,
yeah, I mean,
it's a brutal
that's
process.
exactly where I'm at. I've written 10 novels.
Hmm. Well,
Um,
and that's what and so she did the same thing where it was like she was writing different genres.
mhm.
So, and now she's at a point where she's selling multiple of these books. So I just feel like, that it's about timing and luck and so many other things too.
Yeah,
But if you don't have those books, you have nothing to sell.
yeah,
So,
and I have seen people who, as you know, I mean, I'm involved with Thriller Fest in New York, and I've seen people query agents year after year after year on the same book.
same book. Uh-huh. I've seen
It's
it too.
Yeah, it's a huge mistake. I mean, you've got to move on. If you're not getting an agent in the first or second go round, and you've sent
Yeah.
out whatever 20, 30 query letters, shelve it for the time being. Move on,
Yeah.
and
And keep practicing. Like it's keep learning and keep getting
oh
like better at the craft.
yeah, I mean, I was arrogant enough with the first book that I wrote, thinking this is the best thing that's ever been written, and you get all those rejections, and you think these people don't know what they're talking about. They know exactly what they're talking about. My book was trashed.
And you don't really learn that until later after you've done a lot more writing, and then you're like,
Yeah,
oh wait,
yeah. You
okay,
look back at it and you go, maybe the
why did I
first.
let anybody read that?
Oh, yeah. It's like, but okay, maybe the first 50 pages about weather isn't the best start. You know?
Well, I mean, that is a very good tip for the audience. Don't start with 50 pages of weather. But do you tend to write more on the dark side? So what was it about being like a little bit more dark, murder, crime, like something in that vein that appeals to you
Uh-huh.
versus like romance or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, I like genre mashups. That's just my own personal taste. And so what I like doing is bringing in elements from different things. I mean, you want to write an exciting story, um, but on the other hand, you want that, at least I want, that human connection to the story so that you actually care about the
Hmm.
protagonist. And so I do tend to go deeper into kind of the emotional connection, and whether it's family relationships or father-daughter relationships, whatever the case might be. Um, I do tend to go into that because that is something of primary interest to me. But I think within certain genres, I mean, if you're writing a thriller, I think it's supposed to be exciting.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
You could be, who knows? There are slow burn thrillers,
Right,
right?
right. Um, so a lot of it is kind of just driven by the genre itself.
Mm,
Uh, the speculative fiction books that I have, or like the time travel love story, it's you got to have time travel. You got to have a love story. You got to have those things that you have to check off the boxes in order to fit that genre. And it's more difficult when you're mashing up the genres, but you still have to have elements of all of that. So as far as the interest in the dark and twisty, to me, it's just kind of a function of what story are you writing.
yeah.
If it's a thriller, you're going to have intrigue, and you're going to have the cloak and dagger kind of stuff, and it just you kind of gotta.
Yeah. And you have a wide variety of ideas that are coming, right, that you're able to play off of,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. If you
Yeah.
could teach a new writer one thing, what would it be? And can you teach it to me right now?
Sabrina, if I knew that, I would go hire a bunch of writers and have them write books for me, and I would sit back and count my money. Uh,
Do I
I,
know of an author who does that?
I think there's so many just elemental things that I think everybody kind of misses. You've got to. Let me rewind. Um, I do things with the Writers League of Texas also, in
Okay.
addition to Thriller
Yeah.
Fest.
Yeah.
One of the most effective presentations I have ever seen. An agent came and he had a stack of 30 queries that he got. And there was, I guess, the first page or the first paragraph. And he handed those out to everyone that was listening. And said, okay, based on this first paragraph, or it might have even been the first sentence, would you have signed this author? It was amazing because you always hear that. You always hear agents and people in the biz say, "Oh, well, I know within the first sentence or the first
Yeah.
paragraph," and you think, "Well, do you really? Is that really giving the work a fair shake?" I swear to you,
They really know.
they really know. And when
Wow.
you read it, when you compare all of these, and you read those first sentences, you go, "Yeah, no, it doesn't grab me." And of the 30, I think I had the same decision as the author, except for maybe one, where it was like, no, no, yes, no, 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 yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the point of all of that is, I mean, you got to start with something that's going to grab, because you literally have a few sentences to do that. So if that first sentence or two isn't something unique or attention worthy or whatever,
Right.
it doesn't matter how good the rest of the book is. They're
Because
not
they're
going
not
to look
getting
at it.
past it. They're not going to get
They're
past
not
it.
going to. They're going
And
to
that's,
go,
yeah.
no, next. Because, I mean, every agent gets what, 100, 200
Oh
submissions a
my God.
day,
Yeah.
So,
And then they
yeah,
also have assistants. So you're trying to get through the assistant too. So it's got to be interesting enough that you're getting
yeah,
like past that age. Like I mean, querying is definitely, it's a whole challenge, but it's also interesting because these are people who are amateur writers. We're trying to become professional writers. And
mhm,
like we have this like one shot, this like
yeah.
short little shot.
Oh,
It's
no,
just really,
it's really disheartening. I mean, there's so many other things I think that people make the mistake, and that I still make the mistake of, is you, know, you pretty much want to stick to the three-act structure.
mm-hmm.
It's been around since the ancient Greeks for a reason,
Yeah.
and it's important with the three-act structure. You have a beginning, you have a middle, you have an end. The beginning should be about 25%, the middle should be another 50%, and the end should be another 25%, which means it's important to have a midpoint. That's kind of
Mm-hmm.
the crux of where does the story go, and where does it go from there. And I've been arrogant about that also. No, I don't. I'm not an ancient Greek. I don't need the three-act structure. Well, yeah, you do. Publishers are looking for
Well,
that.
I think too, this is something I talk about a lot as well, is when you when you're a debut and you're trying to get an agent, you're trying to get in the door, it is rare if you've broken the rules that you can get in. Usually it's you get in with the rules, like show that you can play in the sandbox,
Yeah,
show that you've got the skill, and then you can start playing with it in your next like iterations and stuff.
yeah.
Like because for example, I haven't read it, but I know that Claire McIntosh wrote a book called The Last Party. And the first half of the book is set a certain way, and then the second half is set a certain way, and it's supposed to mirror each other.
Mm,
And how can you really do that if you don't know all the rules about like writing and like and how to structure things and what things you're supposed to do in order to be able to then break all the rules, right? And as
100%.
a debut, it's just so much harder. We still want to do anything to make them say no. Like just follow the rules, your first book, just do
Yeah,
that. You'll get in the door. And then once you're in the door too, then maybe that's when you're having the conversation with your agent. Like, I
right.
actually thought like maybe we could switch the structure a little bit or
Mhm.
whatever. That's like when you have somebody who's a professional that can tell you.
Right. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
100% agree. 100% agree. It's the opening is not the time to say this
Experiment.
doesn't fit with any particular genre. I can't tell you where it fits on a bookshelf in the bookstore.
Yeah.
No.
I one time heard somebody say that they were writing a philosophical thriller. And I was like, I don't,
Hmm.
how,
Seems like an oxymoron, but
yeah, I was like, I don't know how you're doing that, but okay. So, I mean, good for
I
them.
mean, if it's a spy who has moral qualms about what she's doing, okay,
Totally.
maybe.
No,
Maybe.
bless their heart. All right. So moving in now, we've got the next section. I have these 10 questions that I like to ask all of my guests. And so the first one is, what is on your desk?
What is on my desk? Meaning literally, or what?
Yeah, like when you're writing, like what's on your desk? Do you write in a certain place? Like is it clean? Does you have like your
Okay.
figurines? Like what is your writing desk?
I I actually don't use a desk when I'm writing.
Okay.
I park myself on my couch.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I have destroyed our couch by virtue of 10 years of sitting there writing for hours on end.
Yeah.
And it's just with a laptop on my lap, and typically my dog Frank coming up, wondering what I'm doing and why am I not
Yeah,
throwing a
play
ball with
with
him.
me.
Exactly, exactly.
So, well, that goes into what ritual, if any, do you have before or after you write?
Okay. Um, I have a kind of unique system
Okay.
because the idea of writing a book is daunting. You have, say, 300 blank pages. So my hack for this is I go in, I set up a shell, I do chapter 1, page break, chapter 2, page break, chapter 3. I do that for 30 chapters. Then, because you know generally what the story is going to be about, I'll put a sentence or two. I'm not really the kind to plot out everything. I
Hmm.
don't do a huge outline or anything, but I know what the ending is going to be before I
Yeah.
write a word.
Okay.
I usually know what the beginning will be before I write a word. And so between that, it's okay, how do I get from point A to point B? And so I'll just write a sentence or two under each chapter heading.
Hmm.
Chapter 1, the meet cute, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I do that for every chapter. That way, I've got 30 chapters, and I look at it in terms of, oh, well, all I have to do is 10 pages per chapter now. I don't,
Okay.
I don't have to write 300 pages. I just have
Yeah.
to write 10 for chapter 1, and here's the starting sentence for chapter 1, so I can go from that.
Yeah.
It's, I know it's no different. You still have to write the 300 pages, but for me and my feeble little mind, it makes it much easier to go 10 pages. Sure, I can do that on a weekend.
Yeah. Well, so Kate White at Thriller Fest, she did a presentation. She talked about some different things, and it was like around procrastination and like managing your time as a writer and things like that. And one of the things she said was like, you have to slice the salami really, really thin. And I think it's the same idea. Like you're just like taking off barely little baby bites of it. So
Yeah,
it doesn't feel so overwhelming because, yeah, like 300 blank pages or 85,000 words that don't exist yet
yeah,
like have to be put into this what
right.
is it can be so overwhelming, but I
Yeah,
do like the idea of just like getting in there. I do something similar to where I have like kind of my chapters out and a little bit of what's in there, um but yeah, until you really get all like going into it, you may not know what your story is,
uh-huh.
but yeah, I don't know, I think that
The-
it makes a lot of sense to me.
I mean, I think whatever works for you, you've got to
Yeah.
figure out a system so that it's not, because I think with any of us, if we thought in terms of, I've got to come up with 85,000 words, we'd never start. You
Hmm.
have to have some way of cutting it all down, and that's what works for me. The other
Yeah.
thing that I do is whenever I get stuck on an idea, I don't know why this works. I've heard people have all kinds of different things. Some people will, lock themselves in a dark room with candles and meditate, or,
I
try to
know.
listen to the characters whisper to them. In our office here, we've got this small exercise room with a couple of treadmills. For whatever reason, I can go, I'll shut the blinds, I don't listen to music, and I'll get on the treadmill. And what I do is I'll just think about whatever the problem is that I'm having. There's something about the boring, repetitive nature of being on a treadmill that allows me to just focus on whatever the issue is that I've told myself. Somehow solutions come in that process.
Yeah.
I
Isn't
can't
it
explain
amazing?
why.
I don't know what it is about movement, but movement makes such a big difference. If you're stuck and you physically move,
Yeah,
somehow that helps in your brain to get unstuck. It's the most interesting
yeah,
experience. So yeah, I don't have a treadmill, but I do like loops around my house and
yeah,
my husband's always like, "Are you pacing again?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm
yeah.
working."
I think that's exactly right. I think it's movement, and it's being able to, because I mean, if I'm sitting at my desk, it's, you can say, oh, squirrel, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Phone.
Right, right. It's computer, it's phone, it's TV, it's, oh, I need a
Yeah.
snack, whatever. But when you are in that single-minded thing and there's nothing else to do but focus on the issue and the problem, somehow it comes through. I mean, I've
Yeah.
had so many times where I keep going back to the time travel love story for whatever reason. I came up with a twist. I had it. I had it written, and I wasn't really happy with kind of the twist toward the ending. And I'm on the treadmill, and it just hit me out of nowhere. It's like, oh my god! Jump off the treadmill, write a voice, or do a voice memo to myself about this, and then get back on the treadmill. And
Yeah.
again, can't explain it.
It's so amazing. Okay, so if you were writing multi POV or multi timeline, do you write straight through like a reader reads it, or would you write each one individually and stitch them together?
I write straight through.
That is the most common answer. It's really interesting. What is the most bullshit piece of advice you've heard?
Oh gosh. Huh. um, oh, I know. So you've written a couple of books. You should quit your day job.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that. It would be nice, but that's like what 0.0001% of writers. So
Yeah.
yeah, don't quit your day job, boys and girls.
So that is actually a good piece of advice, yes?
Well, yeah.
Well,
I
don't
mean,
quit your
I
day
took
job.
it. The person was saying I should quit my day job,
That's so interesting. Most people are
and
like, don't, but yeah, you're like,
but
I
I think
wish.
I think there's kind of a false perception out there that
Oh my
people
God, there's a
believe, oh,
huge
you're a
false
writer,
perception.
yeah, you must be making all kinds of money, and like, no,
No,
bro.
no, nope. Okay, so then what is the best piece of advice you've heard?
The best piece of advice was keep on writing, number one,
Hmm. Hmm.
and two, network.
Yeah,
And that's why, I mean, I enjoy going to Thriller Fest, and as you know, I mean, I'm the head of security
yeah.
for the
I
event.
like how you put me in security in front of like the querying people, and I'm 5'1". I was like, come on, you
Uh-huh.
6'2" men, come at me.
Yeah.
It was really funny. I had a great time.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I mean, I've been going to Thriller Fest for probably about 10 years, I guess. And the first few times were to learn the craft and to query and all that kind of thing.
Hmm.
After that, it became there are all these amazing authors and all these people that are in our tribe, so to speak, that I want to get to know and network with. And it's really invaluable to have that broad spread of other people who share the same interests and the same desires and who want to write and who believe in the power of ideas, who believe in the power of printed word, to associate with them and to become friends and to network, not just for the selfish reasons of, hey, can you give me a blurb for my book, which
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of self-affirming and
Hmm.
a nice form of validation to be around people who believe that this kind of thing is important, and it kind of, I don't know, it gives me anyway kind of that push to keep going and
And
keep doing
it's
what we
like
do.
it's inspiring. You get like that spark of joy again because there's
Yeah.
because writing's so isolating and it's so like by yourself, and if you're a collaborative person, like that's kind of you can miss out on that. But I think that having that network, so you can just be like, I text friends all day and I'm like, oh my god, I'm stuck on this chapter, I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on, right? Like that's something that you get from these events that it's a little bit harder in some ways. I mean, there's huge online communities, and like I definitely don't like discount that at all because I have a lot of friends from
Mhm.
online that I've met. Um, but I think that going there and networking is such a different experience because you're getting people face to face. Also, you get to meet like your idols.
Hmm.
So amazing.
Yeah,
And then they're like nice and like normal people. What is that?
I
So
know.
weird.
Yeah, I
Don't
was.
be nice.
Yeah, I was so knocked out by that the very first time I went because you have some of these authors that are way up here on this pedestal, and you think,
Hmm.
oh gosh, will they even bother to talk to me?
Yeah.
And yeah, just and that's been true for. I've never been to BoucherCon, but I hear good things about that.
Yeah.
It's true about Writers League. I know it's true about Thriller Fest, and so
Yeah.
it's probably true with most of these kind of conventions. But yeah, it's amazing that some of these people who have sold bazillions of novels will, bother to talk to you and ask about your stuff and all that
Yes.
kind of thing.
Like, so it's just been so like so bizarre. It's not bizarre. It's like amazing. But when if you go and have a master class, then you're getting taught by like a really influential writer, and then I've gone through that and then went through pitching, which was not going well, and I had this author like see me across the room and come and ask like how I was doing, and I was like, you don't have to talk to me. What? Like, this is
Right.
amazing. So yeah, I mean, I will forever be a Thriller Fest stan. Like, it is just
Yeah,
amazing.
it's pretty cool.
What is the darkest idea that you've ever had that scared you about yourself?
Oh boy. Um, I wanted to do one that was very much kind of a political assassination thing to kind of clear the deck, so to speak. Um, and I
It's
was
fiction. We're
it
just
was
talking about
fiction,
fiction.
not talking about anybody real,
Just talking about fiction here.
just fiction. No, nobody real. No political party involved. Um, that I found myself thinking that would actually be a good thing if that were to happen. And then you realize you're condoning mass murder there.
Yeah.
So
There's like
maybe,
oh, wait.
yeah, maybe you should dial it back a little on the whole. Yeah, let's just wipe the slate clean kind of thing. That you go.
Yeah. I
Now
think that's
wrong is
fair.
still wrong.
That's a
So
fair dark idea to
yeah, so I did not write that one.
You could write it just for yourself. Okay, how many drafts do you do before you share with anybody?
Zero. I don't share with anybody once I have something. Once I have something final, then I'll send it to beta readers.
Hmm.
I don't ever send out a draft until I feel like that I could query this, because otherwise, I want everything. I want the language clean. I want the grammar clean. I want there to be no spelling errors, because if you lose a beta reader, you're certainly going to lose an agent.
Hmm.
So nobody sees a draft ever.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really interesting. So how many drafts does it take for you to get to that point where you're like, this is the one I'm sending out?
It depends on the work. My writing has gotten cleaner, I think, as I've gone on.
Yeah.
The first book I did, 7,050 drafts probably, and it was still garbage. No, that one probably went through 30 or 40 drafts, I would
Hmm.
guess, until I sent it out, and it was still garbage because I didn't know what I was doing.
You have to learn somehow.
You got to learn, and then you write more, and there's fewer drafts.
Hmm.
Now it's probably, I mean, all writing is rewriting, right?
Yeah.
So it's constant state of editing. But as far as big substantive drafts, probably three or four, I would
Okay.
guess.
Yeah.
Not counting all of the. What I typically do is, uh, when I write something and I put it away for the night, I'll go back and start there the next day, just to read over it, make sure there's nothing super obvious that I've missed,
Hmm.
and then once I've read it, then I'll move on.
Yeah.
So I don't think that counts as a draft, but
I mean, I think it's like you have something to completion. You're like, okay, great. This is a book, but I don't want anyone to see it. So I'm gonna go do this.
mhm.
Okay, now it's this. Now I'm gonna go do this.
Yeah,
Like, kind of that kind of thing. So what part of the process is your favorite?
I absolutely love getting lost in a world of my own creation. I
Yeah.
can sit down and I can be on that couch and I will be typing, and when the ideas are flowing and you're creating the jazz, hours can go by and I won't move.
Yeah.
And then I get up from the couch and my legs don't function, and I realize, oh, you've been sitting
I've
there
been
for
here a minute.
you've been sitting there for 4 hours without moving. I absolutely love that, where you
Yeah.
are in some other total made up world or universe or whatever. That to me is just the beauty of what we get
Yeah.
to do.
It's escape, fully immersed into something else.
Yeah, because
It's
nothing else
incredible.
exists. This
Hmm.
totally imaginary world that's between you and your computer,
Hmm.
and you are so in it and you can feel it and smell it and think it and everything. Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah. I would agree. What part of the process is your least favorite?
Uh, the waiting, the
Yeah. Well, I mean, you haven't been doing a lot of that at all.
No, just 10 years worth.
Just
Uh,
10 years worth.
you know,
I've
whatever.
done my waiting.
Yeah, no, that's dealing with the biz, as it
Yeah,
were, is the worst.
yeah. And, I actually do hear that quite a bit from authors who've been around for a while. It is really the industry stuff that makes it so
Yeah.
much harder, more so than the craft itself and
Oh, yeah,
the joy and fun of the art of it.
100%.
What is your old school favorite mystery or thriller?
Ooh,
Like maybe you read it in high school or college or early
okay.
career.
When I was a kid, I read everything that was written by Ray Bradbury,
Okay.
Isaac Asimov, and Arthur C. Clarke. Uh,
Okay.
I joke about because their last names that I was learning my ABCs at an early age. Asimov, Bradbury, Clarke.
Yeah.
So I would go back to the ones that stick in my mind. I remember Asimov's The Gods Themselves. I remember Bradbury's, his anthology was actually the one that really just knocked me out. R's for Rocket, that had the story, I think it was Fire and Ice, I think, about these people who crash landed in a spaceship on some other world, and radiation or whatever sped up their life cycle so that they lived and died within 8 days.
Oh, wow.
Everything happened within 8 days.
Okay.
That one, I mean, I read that when I was 8, probably,
Yeah.
and it still sticks with me.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And then you said Bradbury. What's the C one?
Arthur C. Clarke,
Clark. What does he write?
also sci-fi.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Well,
yeah,
I always find that really interesting, especially as somebody who's writing in different genres. And like through our like working relationship in the past, I have this like, I, Dwayne should be writing sci-fi thrillers. Like I don't know why, like that's my direct connection.
yeah.
So I'm kind of excited to hear you say that. I feel like that's maybe,
I mean,
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know your life, but I'm just saying
yeah.
like it feels like it's your sweet spot.
I mean, I love sci-fi. I've written a couple.
Yeah.
I've written a couple of speculative fiction books. One in space, one portals between worlds. It's just those are real hard to sell,
Yeah.
and so
But
I've got them.
no, you'll be ready because the pendulum's going to come back. The pendulum swings, right? Like so, I've been hearing like dystopians kind of coming back. So that's
Mhm.
going to be like, there's a
Yeah,
pendulum.
yeah. I hope. And
Um,
again, it's they're sitting there. They're not going anywhere. So if someone says, what else do you have? I would love to be able to. Yeah, I would love to be able to do that because, yeah, I mean, a couple of embarrassing facts that I will disclose to you is one, when I was very young, I actually did run outside in the backyard and yell Shazam, hoping that lightning would strike and turn me into a superhero. I actually
how'd
did.
it work?
It hasn't worked yet.
Yeah.
I haven't yelled it recently, but I'm willing to give it a try again. The other is I actually wrote to Isaac Asimov, and he sent me a handwritten card back that I still have, that
Oh
I
wow.
very proudly keep.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Isn't it amazing what authors can do and the impact that they can have in our lives? It's truly like books and stories are just
yeah, I
it's what
find it,
makes us humans. What
yeah, I
makes us
find it
different from everyone
tragic,
else.
tragic, really, that our reading percentages are so low and dropping. One
Agreed.
of the reasons why I write geared more toward women than men is because the percentage number of women who read is twice what it is for men, which I find an absolutely shameful statistic because I really do believe if we as a society read more and were more informed, a lot of the problems and issues that we're having right now we wouldn't have because people would be well read and informed and could make a decision instead of the social media squirrel
Oh, the echo chambers that we're in.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just the distraction and the constant scrolling and the inability to keep track of an idea for longer than 5 seconds. I mean, that's the beauty of the writing a book, is getting lost in that world, but also reading a book is
Yeah.
being lost in that world. You know?
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting what you're saying about male readers like being down. I've talked about this with my husband before, and I wonder how much of it is related to video games. And then not just like, I mean, you've got your Call of Duty, like your whatever, like your blow 'em up games, Grand Theft Auto, but there's also role-playing games that are like very in-depth stories that
Mhm.
I think are being utilized by men more often. And I think that's a really interesting thing to explore. It just like it's been in my head a little bit lately about like, is there another way to reach like that the male audience, a younger male audience through
Yeah.
video game storytelling? It
Yeah.
was interesting.
Interesting idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we won't go into that, but thank you so much for being here with me today. Dwayne, if people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Um, I'm on Instagram at Dwayne Goetzel. I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn, but I hardly ever use those two. So if anyone contacts me through those two, don't be surprised if it's a month or two before I respond because I never look at them. And I'm literally the only Dwayne Goetzel on the planet. So all you have,
Don't worry, you'll find him.
yeah, you can type that in and you will come directly to me because nobody else has such a ridiculous name as me.
I mean, listen, it works though, because,
I don't
you
know.
can't be like me. I had a sister-in-law with the same names.
Ouch. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I keep
Uh,
waiting for someone to say, Dwayne Goetzel as a name is never going to sell. It's mixed messaging. We need a pen name. So I keep waiting to hear that.
yeah. I feel like it's a unique enough name. You're fine. Anyway, you can find me at on Instagram as well as Sabrina Thatcher Author. And if you want any more information about my book coaching services, you can visit crimeandquill.com. Until next time, stay sharp and right twisted. Bye.